At 3:03 a.m., every phone in Blackwater Road played the same voicemail from a man still asleep in his locked bedroom. Case file TR 6202. The following account was assembled from witness testimony, municipal records, recovered audio, and 3 photographs that no longer produce the same image twice. The registry opened the file after a county dispatcher in Blackwater Road received a call from a telephone line disconnected in 1998. The caller gave only an address, breathed as if standing underwater, and asked whether the lights in the upstairs room were still counting down. By sunrise, Deputy Mara Voss found the house unlocked. The kitchen table had been set for 7 people, though only one resident, Daniel Ives, had lived there for the last 11 years. Each plate held a folded index card. Each card contained a rule written in Daniel's handwriting, except for the last card, which was still wet. Rule 1. If you hear your mother in the wall, apologize, but do not open it. Rule 2. If the hallway becomes longer than the house, walk backward until the wallpaper changes. Rule 3. If a child asks for your name from under the floorboards, give it the name of someone already dead. Daniel's sister identified the handwriting and then refused to continue reading. She said the rules were not warnings. They were invitations. The first photograph showed the upstairs bedroom. There was no furniture, only black mildew in the shape of a kneeling man. The second photograph showed the same room from the same angle, but the stain had moved closer to the lens. In the third, the stain was gone, and a hand pressed against the inside of the camera glass. The registry technician who catalogued the images resigned the next morning. In his exit statement he wrote, "I have catalogued fires that burned cold, and children who returned speaking with adult voices. I have never seen evidence look back." Daniel's journal began normally. He wrote about storm damage, unpaid taxes, and the sour smell in the north wall. Then the entries narrowed into a single obsession. Every night at 2:17, someone knocked from inside the sealed chimney and recited events from the following day. At first, the predictions were small. A cracked mug, a funeral notice, a dog found hanging from a fence with no tracks in the snow. Then the voice began describing Daniel's choices before he made them. On the 9th night, it said, "Tomorrow you will invite me out." Daniel wrote that he nailed boards over the chimney, filled the hearth with concrete, and slept in his truck. At 2:17, the dashboard vents exhaled ash. A voice from the defroster said, "You brought the house with you." By the time Registry Field Officer Elian Crow arrived, the house had developed what he called interior weather. Fog gathered in closed rooms. Rain fell upward from the basement stairs. A child's wet footprints crossed the ceiling above the dining room and stopped over the 7th chair. Crow's body camera captured his first walkthrough. He spoke calmly, naming each room, each temperature drop, each sound. At the end of the hall, he found a door that should have opened into a linen closet. Instead, it opened onto a gravel road at night. On the road stood Daniel Ives, barefoot, waving both arms as if warning Crow not to enter. Crow closed the door. The body's camera audio recorded a second voice beside him, though he was alone. It said, "That was not Daniel. That was what came after him practicing." The registry sealed the property at 6:40 p.m. At 6:43, the house lights turned on in rooms that did not exist on the floor plan. Neighbors reported seeing silhouettes pass window after window, all moving in the same stiff rhythm, all stopping whenever someone looked directly at them. At 8:12, Jackie Voss heard her radio call her by her childhood nickname. She answered before Crow could stop her. The transmission that followed was later classified as Evidence Item A. "Mara," the voice said, "you left him in the lake." Voss collapsed. Her brother had drowned when she was 12. No public record mentioned that she had been the last person to see him alive. The radio continued in his voice, asking why she had let go. Crow ordered all electronics removed from the site. The radio spoke anyway. Then the phones. Then the smoke detectors. Then the fillings in Voss's teeth. Vibrating words against her jaw until she bit through her tongue. The entity was not haunting the house. It was using the house as a mouth. Daniel's final journal page was found beneath the 7th plate. It had not been there during the first search. The page read, "It does not want to kill us. Killing is too quick. It wants witnesses. It wants every secret spoken in the voice of someone we failed." At midnight, Crow attempted containment protocol. Salt line, iron pins, negative pressure seal, audio blackout. For 11 minutes, the house was silent. Then, every boarded window filled with faces, not pressed against the glass from inside, printed in the glass, as if the panes had remembered people. One face was Daniel. One was Deputy Voss's brother. One was Crow's father, who had died before Crow was born. The 7th face had no features at all, only a mouth opening wider and wider until the glass bowed outward like skin. Crow's last transmitted words were, "It is counting us." The house burned for 9 hours after the county authorized a controlled demolition. Flame consumed the roof, the walls, the foundation beams. At dawn, only the chimney remained. Inside the chimney, investigators found 7 clean plates stacked neatly on the ash. One index card rested on top. Rule 4. If you are hearing this, do not finish the story aloud. The registry, closed case file TR6202, with a provisional classification, communicative architecture, grief-fed, migratory. 3 weeks later, a woman 2 counties over called emergency services to report knocking inside her apartment wall. She said a voice was telling her what would happen tomorrow. She asked the dispatcher whether it was normal for the hallway to be longer when she walked backward. The dispatcher placed her on hold and notified the registry. While she waited, every phone in the call center rang at once. When the operators answered, each heard a different dead voice whisper the same sentence. "Set another plate."